Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Country Murray here. For me, the best time to plant tomatoes in central Florida, especially those larger variety tomatoes, is gonna be in your fall season. The fall grow season for tomatoes works out way better than spring in my opinion. Some of the reasons are in fall, the pest load is way lower than in springtime. Or spring here in or spring here in Florida, or first week of spring, we can be in the 90s. Even though fall we can be in the 90s, but the humidity is not that bad as in the springtime. So spring here some of the time can feel like summer, and that can cause your tomatoes to not perform so well. And the next reason, with fall being a long grow season, we don't get a frost until maybe about mid-December thereabout. Before that we'll get cool, but nothing to slow down your tomatoes that bad or that much. So that is why I'm saying that for your larger variety tomatoes, fall is going to be your best bet. So in this video I'm just going to be sharing with you guys how I'm going to be starting my tomatoes and the different variety of tomatoes that I'll be starting right now, end of July, going into the first week of August. If you're going to be starting your tomatoes from seed and you're in central Florida or South Florida, end of July, early August is that sweet spot to start your tomatoes from seed. If you're going to be getting them from the store, you can just go ahead and get those seedling, those sucker, in mid-September thereabout, and you can start planting those because there and then the temperatures should be good enough for us to start putting seedlings in the ground. Well, tomato seedling that is. So I have some Calabash tomato here. I have some great white tomato seed and also some Kentucky beefsteak tomato seed. I'll be starting these now because these tomatoes, well, other than the Kentucky beefsteak, these other tomatoes, you're not going to find these sucker or seedlings in the stores that easily or readily most of the time. So when you're going for some more exotic tomato type, you really have to start those from seeds. Tomatoes normally take about 60 to 100 days to produce from sucker. So when you do that transplant, it's going to take you about 60 to 100 days, 65 to 100 days, thereabout, for most variety, not all varieties. If you're going to be starting from seed, just add maybe another 25 to 30 days to that. So you're looking at 130 to 135 days from seed. So these, I'm going to start them and they're going to be in starter container for about 6 to 8 weeks before I move them out into the garden in mid to late September thereabout. So if you get transplant from the stores, some of the time those will establish within 3 weeks, like get a good root system, 3 to 4 weeks thereabout, and you can start getting fruit from them within maybe 35 to 60 days from those transplant that you get from the store. So it's not bad to go ahead and get transplant from the store, but if you want some fancy tomato like what I'm trying out here, best if you start them from seed. And for your fall months, you're going to want to put your tomatoes in full sun, which it's recommended overall to have your tomatoes in full sun, but here in Florida you can get away with your tomatoes in a bit of shade. But with the fall months coming in, you're definitely going to want to put them in full sun because we're going to have shorter days and they need as much sunlight as possible. So I'm going to start off with these Kentucky beefsteak. I used from this pack last fall, so I don't think I have much left in it, so I'm just gonna go in, and I'm not gonna do as much tomatoes like what I did last fall. It was too much for me, and then I had so many suckers, seedling, that went to waste. So for this year I'm just gonna do maybe about 3 of each variety. So maybe that's going to be about 16 tomato plants in all, but not too much. Last season I had maybe about 24 to, well, more than that. Last season I had about 30 tomato sucker that came up and I didn't have place to plant them, so I'm not doing that this season again. So these are going to be the Kentucky beefsteak, and then now I'm going for the Calabash. These didn't do so well last year. I'm going for them again, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to be putting them in a different location. And when planting your tomato seeds, you don't want to put them too deep because they may struggle. So you can put them maybe about an 1/8 of an inch thereabout, and you should be good. And I'm putting 3 seeds to a hole, so I can go ahead in the future and I can thin these out. But don't plant your tomato seeds too deep. And with your tomatoes, they do need a steady amount of fertilizer, but not in excess. When the growth process starts, you don't want to give them too much fertilizer. So especially if you're here in Florida and you're planting in-ground, or for most container gardeners, because most container gardeners we use these fluffy mixes that doesn't hold on quite well to nitrogen, and then you'll start get nitrogen leach. So just take your time, do a control approach, and go in like maybe every 2 weeks thereabout with your fertilizer in your tomatoes. For the fruiting process with tomatoes, you're going to want to go with a lower nitrogen and higher potassium fertilizer. So tomatoes, they're going to need a high source of potassium when fruiting, or close to fruiting, little before fruiting, because that's the main source of nutrients for your tomato plants when fruiting. So they do need, or they do take a lot of potassium. So you're going to want a fertilizer like with maybe about a 5-10-20 ratio. You have the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Potassium is going to be your last number, and you want it to be maybe about 16 and higher for your tomatoes when fruiting. So look for that fertilizer. I'm going to put some numbers up here on the screen, and you guys can also look and try to match up something with that. But you want that potassium level for your tomatoes to be much higher. And guys, when I talk about potassium level for your tomato plants, don't go use banana water, because the plant won't absorb any form of potassium from that banana water that you're going to be using. I know what I'm saying may be unpopular, but it's just the truth. There is no scientific evidence, there is no evidence to back that up, that plants or that banana water that just changes color, that your tomatoes will get potassium from it. No evidence to back it up. So I'm not going against anyone, but it's just the truth, and we have nothing to back it up. We have nothing to prove that your plants take up potassium from banana water. So find a fertilizer that has a large or a greater ratio of potassium and just use that on your tomato plants instead of banana water. I'm not saying that banana water doesn't have its benefit, but we don't have anything to prove that. All you're going to want to do when you start seeing those tomato plants flowering, you're going to want to cut back on the nitrogen. So that first number, you're going to want to have it lower, and the last number, you want that higher on your fertilizer bag. And that should be good for your tomato plants to produce enough tomatoes for you. So this is the following day. I was out here yesterday and the camera started overheating. It was so hot, so I'm just here to wrap this video up. That's basically it when it comes to tomatoes. There are a lot of tomatoes video on the internet, but I just want to share with you guys what I'm doing. I'm also going to try some in-ground now, because some of those seed package that I took seed from to plant now, they were open from last fall, but I did went ahead and tape them so that they were air sealed. So I'm going to try to see if I can direct sow some of them and see how it works, because gardening is all about experimenting also. So I'm going to do some experiment on some of those and I'll give you guys the result. Whether it be success or failure, I'll just let you guys know exactly what happened to those tomato seed. Now it's what, the end of July. Today is what, the 28th of July. I'm going to let you guys know what happened with those seeds, and I'm going to try to water them twice a day in the grow bags whilst direct sowed. So that's going to be it from Country Morrow. God bless you all. See you in the next one. Happy gardening and cheers.